This tape stresses refined methods of maneuvering that can be employed during combat. It is the second of Ed Parker's series on sophisticated basics, originating from his videos on advanced concepts and principles of Kenpo. As you acquaint yourself with his thoughts, ideas, theories, concepts, principles, and innovative creations, Ed Parker encourages you to pursue logic as he has to obtain answers. Once you have pursued as well as adopted the logical and consistent approach upon which Ed Parker's American Kenpo is based, you will agree that Ed Parker's system is not only an art, but a science created by a modern-day innovator. Let us now hear from the Senior Grandmaster himself, Ed Parker.
The second topic on basics is maneuvers. When combined with stances learned in Sophisticated Basics number 1, it teaches you instant transitional response. As both become spontaneous, rapid angle changes, as well as the instantaneous altering of defensive and offensive strategies are forthwith. Maneuvers are further divided into foot maneuvers, which involves step-throughs, shuffles, crossovers, twists, jumps, dives, feints, specialized, and body maneuvers, which involves turning, riding, rolling, slipping, bobbing, weaving, falling, feints, and specialized. Maneuvers are unique strategic methods used to evade and/or attack an opponent. It involves traveling techniques, using an array of footwork patterns in addition to changing stances, body positions, and postures. Employing these methods can aid you in creating or decreasing distance to your best advantage. Can be used preceding an attack, used simultaneous with an attack, or used after an attack. This is done by stepping, shuffling, crossing, twisting, hopping, jumping, and leaping with your legs, or by feinting, turning, riding, rolling, slipping, bobbing, and weaving using the upper torso and other necessary combinations. The directions and combinations of your maneuvers are many. Nevertheless, circumstances can place limitations upon them. Movements incorporating the legs are classified as foot maneuvers or methods employed to move about in any direction utilizing stances. These methods are further broken down into subdivisions and types. Step-throughs are steps used while advancing, retreating, or moving to the left or right sides. Thus, we have the forward step-through, the reverse step-through, and the side step-through, left and right. Shuffles are combinations of drags and steps, or vice versa. They consist of 4 basic types: drag step, step drag, push drag, and pull drag. Like the step-throughs, the traveling direction of a shuffle can be forward, reverse, or to the side. Crossovers are combinations of over-exaggerated drags and normal steps. There is a great similarity between a front and a rear crossover and a front and rear twist stance. The key difference is continued motion. A front and rear crossover incorporates an additional step. No sooner do you go into a front or rear crossover than you step out with an additional step to complete the maneuver. A front or rear twist stance remains motionless for a period of time. It is exactly the same as a front and rear crossover, minus the additional step that completes the maneuver. Front and rear crossovers can be done while advancing or retreating. Hopping leaping, jumping, and diving are other maneuvers that can be used. These methods will be extensively elaborated upon in my self-defense video series. After you have thoroughly learned these foot maneuvers, they can aid you in developing rapid angle changes, increasing or decreasing distance, adding greater power to your strikes or blows, and helping to nullify your opponent's actions. Their importance cannot be overemphasized and must be incorporated to assure maximum efficiency. In taking a closer look at foot maneuvers, we find them to be intricate, adding sophistication to the art. That is, they can produce dual or multiple results. Consider the following example. If a step-through maneuver brought your foot alongside of your opponent's leg, and then you proceed to buckle his leg, this action would have required two movements to accomplish a single effect, and thus be considered embryonic. In contrast, if your step-through maneuver, following the correct angle, went directly through the opponent's leg to buckle him in a single move, it would have given you the desired distance as well as caused your opponent's leg to buckle. It would have been a single move with a dual effect and, therefore, considered sophisticated. A more detailed study of foot maneuvers proves even more interesting. Other than the buckle, foot maneuvers, coupled with stance changes, can be used to check, pin, lock, spread, sprain, or break various parts of an opponent's anatomy. Combinations of these methods can also be employed depending upon circumstances. For example, you can use a step-through reverse foot maneuver, pivot into a right wide kneel stance to buckle your opponent's leg, make an in-place stance change while dropping into a left close kneel stance to break your opponent's ankle. When foot maneuver combinations are properly synchronized with combinations using the limbs of the upper torso, proficiency is enhanced and victory increasingly assured. Movements incorporating the upper torso of the body are classified as body maneuvers. It can also be defined as methods employed to move in any direction using the upper torso. Like foot maneuvers, body maneuvers can be subdivided into types of moves. However, it must be emphasized that many of the body maneuvers are coordinated with foot maneuvers. Therefore, to completely isolate one from the other would be unrealistic. Further, although the upper torso may be utilized more often than the legs, nevertheless, can incorporate these same methods on a limited scale or use them in a slightly altered pattern. Turning is one of the methods used to maneuver the body to avoid, ride, or slip past a punch, kick, or strike. In addition to using it as a defense, it can also be used to increase the effectiveness of an offense. Using sophistication, turning can be defensive and offensive simultaneously, where body as well as foot maneuvers may be employed. Riding a punch, kick, or strike primarily refers to having your head or body go with an attack. In the process of doing so, distance is achieved, or at least attempted, however slight it might be. To accomplish this method, retreating is often used. When one retreats simultaneously while turning, it is labeled rolling. Rolling is a combination of both riding and turning. Slipping is a sophisticated method of avoiding a punch, kick, or strike. It does not need to involve turning or rolling to be effective, although it may employ these maneuvers if the situation warrants it. Slipping is simply a method of avoiding a punch, kick, or strike with or without the use of a defensive block. The head or body avoids the attack by fractions of an inch as it slips and advances toward your opponent to counterattack, crowd, jam, check, or frustrate him. Bobbing is a vertical or diagonal method of motion used to avoid, duck, or slip past a punch, kick, or strike. It is the up and down or down and up motion used to avoid or initiate an attack. It can be accomplished by bending at the waist or knees, such as a wide or close kneel stance, or by using a combination of both. Ducking is the downward motion of bobbing. It is practically a straight drop. Weaving involves a horizontal or diagonal method of motion, which is used to avoid or slip past a punch, kick, or strike. It is a left to right, right to left, or side to side motion used to avoid or initiate an attack. The waist and knees can be used independently or in combination with each other, as the feet remain basically in place. A combination of bobbing and weaving increases your versatility, maneuverability, and effectiveness when you are being evasive or when you are counterattacking. One proficient in bobbing and weaving can be extremely elusive. Feinting is the use of deceptive gestures or maneuvers to lure or cause your opponent to react. It is a setup move employed as part of your intended plan of action. It is used to mislead and deceive your opponent so that your counter or follow-up action can then be effectively executed, delayed, or eliminated entirely. Specific parts of the body, such as the head, shoulders, arms, or even the legs, are used for feinting. A feint can be a simple gesture, a pronounced action, or it can be a number of gestures used consecutively in a variety of time periods to create the desired results. Feints against the unskilled are not as necessary as against the skilled. However, they can cause a dramatic reaction to your plan of attack. Organizational chart on foot maneuvers. Foot maneuvers. There are step-throughs, forward, reverse, side, sliding, splitting, switching, covering. There's shuffles, such as step drag, drag step, push drag, pull drag. In the crossovers, you have front and rear. In twists, you have in-place twists and traveling twists. In terms of jumps, you have hopping, leaping, switching, covering, flying, dives, head and shoulder, shoulder, back, head, and chest. In the specialized, you have flipping, spinning, and twirling. Let us now review foot maneuvers in more detail and capture the finer points missed the first time around. Foot maneuvers. Step-throughs are steps used to maneuver forward, back, or reverse, to the side, and other directional angles while evading or attacking an opponent. They are generally walking steps, steps that leave the ground before being replanted. However, they can also employ such methods as sliding, splitting, switching, and covering in completing the step. These steps can be full, half, or quarter steps, depending upon the desired effect. The following illustrations and descriptions should help clarify each of the methods used for step-throughs. From an attention stance, step forward with your left foot into a left neutral bow stance. Then step forward with your right foot into a right neutral bow. From an attention stance, step back with your left foot into a right neutral bow stance. Then step back with your right foot into a left neutral bow stance. Another interesting comparison. As you execute your foot maneuvers, think of your head as a gyro on a ship's compass. A gyro, if you're acquainted with one, remains unaffected by the pitching and rolling movements of a ship. No matter how rough the water or what position the ship may be forced into, the gyro remains parallel with the horizon. Therefore, while executing your foot maneuvers, change your body positions, but not your head. Allow your head and eyes to focus in the direction that you're moving to or from. Have your head act as a gyro on a ship's compass. Although this policy is generally practiced, there are, nevertheless, always exceptions to the rule. Sliding is a method of executing a step using one foot at a time. In this maneuver, the foot is kept in constant contact with the ground. Like other methods, sliding steps can move forward, back, or to the side while starting or finishing the desired maneuver. While sliding, the head is kept level so that bobbing is minimized. Every action becomes direct, thus economically executed. Balance and stability are also enhanced along with power and impact. Splitting can be best described as two slides simultaneously executed, whereby both feet simultaneously slide apart from each other. Its primary purpose is to cause an instant drop in height to avoid an attack, execute an attack, or while using combinations of both. Switching entails a combination of steps or a jump to change stance positions while remaining in the same spot and facing in the same direction. While there are a number of ways of switching, only 3 methods will be shown. 2 employ step-throughs and the other a jump. Switching is often used to better position oneself, to protect vital target areas, to enhance an attack while employing a linear path or an angular path, to be deceptive, and to enhance one's strategy. Switching utilizing step-throughs are of 2 varieties: back to front, sometimes referred to as rear to front, and front to back, often referred to as front to rear. Back to front requires that your lead or forward foot moves back and in line with your rear foot as you immediately shift your rear foot forward so that it ends up in line with where your forward foot originated. Front to back requires that your rear foot moves forward and in line with your lead or forward foot as you immediately step back with your forward foot so that it is positioned in line with where your rear foot was. The jumping switch, which is the 3rd variation, will be described under the heading of jumps. Covering is a step-through method used to turn and face in the opposite direction. The lead foot steps to the opposite side, then turns in the opposite direction. In the process of completing this motion, your body actually retreats from the initial attack rather than move toward it, a highly recommended built-in safety factor. Unable to see what is back of you nor the type of attack being used, it would be foolish to move toward an opponent's action. Such a move would only speed up your opponent's action as well as add to his force. To benefit from this maneuver, move your right foot to your left while still facing the same direction. Turn counterclockwise and face the opposite direction. With your left foot now the lead leg, move it to your right while still facing the same direction. Turn clockwise and face the opposite direction. Repeat this several times to get the feel and balance of the maneuver. Shuffles are related methods of dragging or scraping the feet combined with steps, pushes, or pulls to shift from one location to another. There are 4 shuffle combinations using the feet and leg muscles to shift the body forward, back, or to the side with either foot in the lead. The left foot could be ahead of the right foot or the reverse when employing any of the shuffles. A step drag shuffle can be executed by 1. Getting in a right neutral bow, And 2, stepping forward with your right foot into a deeper right neutral bow. 3, then dragging your left foot forward so that the same distance is maintained between your feet as in step 1. Now in step 4, from your right neutral bow, step back with your left foot into a deeper right neutral bow. And then drag your right foot back so that the same distance is maintained between your feet as in step 4. As you will note from the example shown, you can execute a forward step drag shuffle or a reverse step drag shuffle with your right foot as the lead foot. The same moves can apply with your left foot as the lead foot. A drag step shuffle is the reverse order of a step drag shuffle and can easily be done by 1, forming a right neutral bow, then 2, having your left foot drag forward so that the depth of your stance is decreased. 3, then completing the move by having your right foot step forward so that the same depth is maintained as in step 1. The following best exhibits how to execute a reverse drag step shuffle. 1, form a right neutral bow stance. Then 2, have your right foot drag back so that the depth of your stance is decreased. 3, complete the move by having your left foot step back so that the same depth is maintained as step 1. Both forward and reverse drag step shuffles can be done with your left foot in the lead. In my estimation, the most important shuffle is the push drag shuffle. It can be executed faster than any of the other shuffles, triggering instant body momentum while creating immediate backup mass and force. The result? Greater contact impact. Although speed can be kept constant while you're moving forward or back, the push drag shuffle is at maximum effectiveness moving forward. However, under special circumstances where your opponent is well within the range of your natural weapons, maximum force can be obtained while retreating with the push drag shuffle. The following best demonstrates how to execute a push drag shuffle. The push drag shuffle requires 1, that you lift your forward leg slightly off the ground, and 2, push forward with the rear or supporting leg while simultaneously dragging it after you so that the original distance before commencing the push drag shuffle reoccurs again. The push drag in reverse requires 1, that you raise the rear leg, and 2, push back with the forward leg while simultaneously dragging it after you so that the original distance before commencing the maneuver reoccurs again. The pull drag shuffle is primarily used by the more adept to slip a kick in on an opponent as the supporting leg, the leg bearing your weight, is literally pulled into action in order to allow your body to lunge forward. This particular shuffle is often confused with a step drag shuffle and requires practice to perfect. With practice and experience, the difference between a pull drag and step drag shuffle will become obvious. The following best describes how to execute a pull drag shuffle. From a right neutral bow, slightly lift your right foot so that it is barely off the ground. Now pull ahead with your left leg as it drags forward. In step 4, plant your right foot into a right neutral bow so that the distance between your feet is the same as when commencing this maneuver. Crossovers are combinations of over-exaggerated drags and normal steps that allow you to create and adjust distances. Because of the length of distance that this maneuver can cover, it is considered a long-range foot maneuver. Used as an offensive maneuver, it allows for faster and deeper penetration. Crossovers fall into 2 categories. Front crossovers, where one leg crosses over and in front of the other before stepping forward, and rear crossovers, where one leg crosses behind and in back of the other leg before stepping backward. Both methods can be done while while advancing or retreating. Let us now learn to execute a front crossover while going forward. 1. From a right neutral bow, have your left foot step in front of as well as forward of your right leg. Flatly plant your left foot while raising the heel of your right foot. At this position, make every effort to distribute your weight evenly. 2. Immediately step forward with your right foot and again resume a right neutral bow stance. When proceeding in reverse with the front crossover from a right neutral bow stance, 1. Have your right foot step back but in front of your left foot. Flatly plant your right foot while raising the heel of your left foot. Your body weight is again evenly distributed at this point. 2. Continue your foot maneuver by stepping back with your left foot and position yourself into a right neutral bow stance. To execute a rear crossover going forward, 1. Have your left foot step in the back of as well as forward of your right leg. During the maneuver, have your left foot plant on the ball of the foot with the heel raised. Have your right foot remain flatly planted. Your weight distribution is again evenly dispersed. 2. Immediately step forward with your right foot into a right neutral bow stance. When proceeding in reverse with the rear crossover from a right neutral bow, 1. Have your right foot step to the back of as well as behind of your left foot. During the maneuver, have your right foot plant on the ball of the foot with the heel raised. In this case, it is the left foot that remains flatly planted with your body weight again evenly distributed. Continue your foot maneuver by stepping back with your left foot and position yourself into a right neutral bow stance. Let us now examine the change of direction that occurs when executing a front or rear crossover. When advancing with a front crossover, your direction of travel will be in a straight line. When retreating with the front crossover, your direction will be on a diagonal line. The reason for this is because of the altered center line. Of interest is the flip side that occurs when advancing or retreating with a rear crossover. While advancing with a rear crossover, travel takes a diagonal route. When retreating, it takes a straight route. Having knowledge of direction of travel when advancing or retreating with either front or rear crossover can be of great importance during combat. Instant angle changes could be activated if required. The following illustrations should prove its validity. Historical interest. While crossover maneuvers work well on flat terrain, history records that it was originally developed to effectively travel up and down stairs. With practice, you will also discover the ease with which you can travel up and down stairways using crossovers. Twists are methods of turning a body with the aid of the feet and legs to evade an attack or contribute to the force of your offense. There are two types, in place and traveling twist. The following demonstrations and descriptions should suffice in clarifying both. The in-place twist requires simultaneous body and leg rotation. In the execution of this twist, the body not only turns, but drops in height as well. In analyzing the in-place twist, you will notice that the maneuver from a neutral bow stance triggers an inward action. That is, your body turns toward you while remaining in place. The advantages of using this maneuver either defensively or offensively are great, even as you drop into the twist. Yet, advantages of both defense or offense can also be gained while unwinding from the in-place twist. The torque from such an action can render surprising results. Let us now proceed to learn the in-place twist. 1. From a left neutral bow stance. 2. Begin to turn clockwise with your left and right foot, plus your upper body. 3. Complete your rotation by fully turning counterclockwise so that your left foot is parallel to the front. 50% of your weight is on the ball of the right foot, and your right shoulder is pushed forward and in front of your left shoulder. Special note: reverse your motion from your in-place twist and revert back to a left neutral bow stance. Explosive action created during this move can be converted into a profitable offense. Traveling twists are not very common, but should be added to your storehouse of knowledge. Depending upon how your feet are positioned, you can move from side to side or forward or back, moving diagonally while employing your lead foot. Its primary use is to stalk an opponent, and secondly, to avoid an attack. The traveling twist consists of two varieties, natural and exaggerated. Close examination of the natural version may cause controversy, for it tends to resemble a turn more than a twist. Nevertheless, the difference is so slight that I have categorized it as a twist. The exaggerated version leaves no doubt that it is, in fact, a twist. When applied, the lower half of the body shows obvious contortion compared with the upper body. This obvious contortion is characteristic of a basic twist. Let us now proceed to demonstrate and describe traveling twists. When applying the exaggerated version, the upper body does not face the same direction as that of the lower half. During this maneuver, the lower half of the body faces left, as the upper half faces right. In a normal version, both the lower and upper body face the same direction during the transition. The following should aid you. 1. From a right neutral bow stance. 2. Lift both feet by first using the heel of the feet to pivot with and plant it to your left. Now lift both heels and pivot to your left on the ball of each foot and then plant them. Step 2 could have started off by pivoting on the ball of each foot first, then the heels. Please take note of how the upper body faces the same direction as the lower half of the body. This occurs because the lower half is basically in sync with the upper half. Jumps are methods of having your feet or foot leave the ground to get to or away from an opponent. Although the feet or foot leaves the ground in executing a jump, they, nevertheless, remain at or below the level of your waist or head. There are several types of jumps: hops, leaps, a switching jump, a jump that is made while facing in the same direction, and flying jumps. There are many variations of hops, leaps, and flying jumps. Only the essential jumps will be discussed, described, and demonstrated on this tape. Hops are one-leg jumps that require a minimum of height to execute. They somewhat resemble a pull-drag shuffle, with the exception that the foot does not drag on the ground. It becomes slightly airborne before the foot is planted and the body repositioned. Primary purpose of a hop is to rapidly close the distance between you and your opponent. As the hop is executed, every effort is made to protect the vital areas of the body. 1. From a right neutral bow stance. 2. Pick up your left foot and balance your weight on your right leg. 3. Jump forward with your right foot onto the same foot. And 4. Plant your left foot forward into a left neutral bow stance. The following examples demonstrate the use of a hop. 1. Hop, then sweep the leg of a standing opponent. 2. Hop, then sweep the arm of an opponent who is on his hands and knees. Leaps and explosive jumps are used to evade and attack an opponent. They require vigorous effort in acquiring a fair degree of height. While executing such moves, both feet may simultaneously leave the ground, or you may use one foot at a time. No matter what method is employed, both feet do become airborne during the course of a leap. One-leg leaps require one foot leaving the ground at a time, with both becoming airborne prior to planting the feet or foot. Whatever foot is planted, the weight of the body balances and rests on that leg. This leap is primarily used as an evasive maneuver that positions your body for the next counter. We will now demonstrate. 1. From a left neutral bow stance. 2. Leap forward and to your left on a 45-degree angle. Use your right foot to push off with. 3. Land on your left leg, keeping your left knee flexible and balance your weight on your left leg as you form a left one-leg stance. Examine how the one-leg leap is used when employing the self-defense technique leaping crane. Two-leg leap involves both feet simultaneously leaving as well as being planted on the ground. It is mainly used as an offensive maneuver to give added height to the final move, employing gravitational marriage. Observe the following. 1. From a standing position. 2. Leap forward using both legs to push off with. 3. Land on both legs, keeping your knees flexible so as to enhance your balance. The self-defense technique, a leap of death, is an example of the benefits of a two-leg leap. Switching jump. This is a third method used to switch stances. However, instead of using step-throughs to accomplish the switch, a jump is executed to achieve the same results. This method requires jumping in the air, switching your legs, reversing their order in midair, landing on the identical spot while facing in the same direction. Like the other two switching methods, it can be used to better position yourself, minimize your target areas, enhance your attack, as well as a deceptive maneuver, and be of benefit strategically, such as avoiding a low strike using a staff or sword. Please observe the following. 1. From a left neutral bow. 2. Jump up in the air. 3. Switch your legs and body slightly while in the air. 4. Land on an identical spot, facing the same direction, and into a right neutral bow stance. 5. Now from a right neutral bow. 6. Jump in the air. 7. Switch your legs and body slightly while in the air. And 8. Land on the identical spot, facing the same direction, and into a left neutral bow stance. Covering jump is a jumping method instead of a step-through method used to turn and face in the opposite direction. Here again, not seeing what is behind you, nor the type of attack being used, this method affords you the opportunity of turning in midair and facing in the opposite direction while actually retreating from an unknown opponent. Please examine the following. 1. From a right neutral bow. 2. Jump up into the air and begin to turn counterclockwise. 3. Complete the 360-degree turn in midair. 4. Land with both feet into a left neutral bow stance while facing the opposite direction. 5. Now from a left neutral bow. 6. Jump into the air and begin to turn clockwise. 7. Complete the 360-degree turn in midair. And 8. Land with both feet into a right neutral bow stance while facing the opposite direction. Study the effects of a covering jump that adds aggression to the jump. Flying jumps are jumps that are not only airborne, but that travel or sail through the air as well. They can be activated from a dead standstill or from a running start. They too may be used to avoid an attack or aid you in the execution of an attack. When used as a defense, it is called a flying jump. Converted into an offense, it changes from a flying jump, which it starts off as, to a flying kick. There are different types: flying back knuckle strike, etc. Used as an offense, the body becomes almost parallel to the ground at the point of execution. Please study the following. From a standing position. 1. Jump with both legs. 2. Stretch them out as you sail through the air. 3. Recock your legs and plant them into a standing position. From a running position. 1. Jump in the air with both legs. 2. Cock them in midair and turn counterclockwise as you deliver a right knife edge kick. 3. Recock your legs and land on both feet. A word of caution. Please use caution when executing the following methods of diving. Caution can never be overemphasized if you are not a gymnast. Get assistance from someone who is knowledgeable and experienced. Dives are unique methods that use exaggerated moves to avoid an attack, work in conjunction with an attack, or as a defense-offense combination. Because they are unique, dives are categorized separately. Employing elements of a jump, dives are nevertheless unquestionably different. The key difference here exists between height levels of the head and feet. In a dive, the head lunges forward, followed by the feet. At a certain period during a dive, the feet are raised above the level of the head. It is this relationship of height, the feet being higher than the head, that separates a dive from a jump. Another distinguishable difference between a dive and jump involves body parts that make contact with the ground at the time of execution. Executing a jump, you leave the ground with your feet and land on them. When diving, you leave the ground with your feet and land on your hand or hands in the majority of cases, then roll with the parts of your arm, shoulder, back, hip, and leg before landing up on your feet again. There are three main types of dives: head and shoulder, shoulder and back, and head and chest. Other specialized diving methods and their uses will be described in future tapes. The head and shoulder dive involves a straightforward motion, diving head first, tucking the head, then rolling equally on the shoulders, back, hips, buttocks, and back onto your feet. Let us now study the following. From a standing position, 1. Bend your knees and dive head first with hands outstretched to break your fall. Please take note of how the feet are raised above the level of the head. 2. With your hands helping to break your fall, tuck your head, roll on your shoulders, back, hips, and buttocks, and have the momentum carry you forward and back onto your feet. You then have the option to cover if you wish. Shoulder dive involves turning the body on a slight angle so that either the right or left side of the body is used to roll with. If you decide to use the right, you will partially roll with the right arm, shoulder, hip, thigh, and back onto your feet. Again, notice that the level of the feet is higher than the head. From a standing position, 1. Bend your knees, turn and dive to your right with your right arm outstretched to help break the fall. Again, take notice of how the feet ends higher than the level of the head. 2. With your right arm helping to break your fall, tuck your head toward your left shoulder and roll on your right shoulder, hip, thigh, as you roll back onto your feet. Back, head and chest dive. This is a straight dive to the rear. It is not a common dive and therefore requires practice. To execute it, spring back onto your hands, keep your head and back arched, and time your action carefully as you roll on your chest, stomach, hips, thighs, knees, and feet. From a standing position, 1. Bend your knees, squat, and spring backward. Reach out with your arms to break your fall. Arch your head and back, and again bend your knees. As your hands touch the ground, straighten your body, and 2. As your weight begins to shift over the center point, again arch your head and back. Now begin to roll on your chest, stomach, hips, thighs, knees, and feet. Flip is a specialized foot maneuver employed to move the feet from one spot to another. Contained within a flip are elements of a jump, dive, and handspring. It is executed in 3 stages, from the feet to hands and back to feet. The wrists play an important role in executing a flip, since it acts as a springing device that aids you in completing your maneuver. Although it is an acrobatic maneuver, it is useful and can be strategically used as a primary method of escape. It can also aid you offensively or as a defense-offense combination. 2 types of flips will be demonstrated: front and back. The front flip starts off like a head and shoulder dive. lands on the hands, and springs you back onto your feet. Please observe the following. From a standing position, squat down, leap forward with your arms outstretched, and land on your hands. The instant you make ground contact with your hands, use your arms and wrists to flip you over and back to your feet again. The back flip starts off like a backhand and chest dive, lands on the hands, and springs you back onto your feet again. Like the front flip, your feet are above the level of your head. Study the following. From a standing position, squat down, leap backward with your arms stretched out behind you, and land on your hands. The instant you make ground contact with your hands, use your arms and wrists to flip you over and onto your feet again. Spinning is a specialized foot maneuver used to escape from or to attack an opponent. Its distinctive feature is that the feet are in constant contact with the ground. Both the legs and upper body are synchronized with each spin to enhance the momentum and speed of the attack or escape. It is, nevertheless, not a common maneuver for beginning students, but a must for those of higher training. Learn every aspect of motion, whether it is to be used offensively or defensively. Do not overlook one opportunity, especially when studying them in reverse. Spins can be executed while rotating clockwise or counterclockwise, going toward or away from your opponent. It goes without saying that circumstances and your personal skill dictates your choice of action. From a standing position, 1. Bend your knees slightly to aid your balance during the maneuver, and 2. Move counterclockwise as your right foot steps forward and plants to your left while spinning. 3. Continue to spin counterclockwise by moving your left foot in a backward motion as you plant it to the right of your right foot. Further distance can be covered by continuing the same procedure. Twirling. Although this specialized foot maneuver is similar to spinning in appearance, it warrants a descriptive term of its own because it is executed while airborne. It is literally a spin to turn your body clockwise or counterclockwise while in the air, traveling from one ground point to another. Both the upper and lower body are synchronized to twirl simultaneously while moving toward or away from your opponent. It could further be said that a twirl is no more than a turning jump. It too is primarily taught to advanced students. Again, observe and study the following. From a standing position, 1. Bend your knees slightly to aid your balance during the maneuver, and 2. Jump clockwise while turning 360 degrees in the air and landing on both feet. You may continue this action turning clockwise or counterclockwise more than once. Hurdling, another specialized foot maneuver, describes jumping over obstacles to get from one ground point to another. In combat, it may require jumping over stool, chair, person, etc. as part of your defensive or offensive strategy. The fact that these jumps are encumbered by obstacles makes the maneuver challenging and unique. Hurdling often employs several combination jumps, leaping, flying, and occasionally covering. Only the highly skilled should use this in combat. Beginners should walk or run around the obstacles and use them as a means of defense. Vaulting. This specialized foot maneuver requires a prop such as a staff, table, stanchion, an opponent's body, or other like objects to support, launch, and execute a jump from one ground point to another. The fact that props are needed for support in launching the jump makes it special and unique. During the launch, 2 choices are available. 1, only planting the feet, or 2, kicking with the feet before planting them. Again, only the highly skilled should employ this method in combat. Let us review and scrutinize body maneuvers more explicitly. Organizational chart on body maneuvers. Body maneuvers: turning, riding, rolling, slipping, bobbing, weaving, falling. Body maneuvers: turning is a method of rotating the upper body to the left or right while in place or after stepping off and to the side. The turn normally occurs within a 180-degree radius. It too can be used to avoid an attack or to counterattack while simultaneously avoiding an attack. The technique, thrusting salute, is an excellent example in demonstrating the effects of turning to avoid an attack while simultaneously counterattacking. Turning can also be done while on the ground. Riding is a method of having your upper body go with an attack. This could be done while standing in place or while retreating with the foot. Rolling is a method of avoiding attack using a ride and turn combination. A roll extends beyond a 180-degree radius and up to a 360-degree radius. Having the same flexibility as other methods, you can roll with an attack while simultaneously counterattacking. Rolling can be done in place or coordinated with foot maneuvers. Rolling can also be executed on the ground. Slipping is a method of avoiding an attack while going toward your opponent's action. This may be done directly or indirectly. That is, you can slip past and toward your opponent at the very start of an attack or ride the attack first before slipping toward the action. A counter can accompany a slip. The technique Dance of Death demonstrates slipping. Please study the technique by rewinding the tape to your satisfaction. Bobbing is a method of avoiding attack while virtually dropping underneath, often referred to as ducking, or by rising above the action of your opponent. This maneuver aids you in positioning yourself below or above the level of your opponent's attack. Again, a counter could accompany a bob. Weaving is a method of avoiding an attack while horizontally moving the upper body from side to side toward a number of angles. Countering while weaving can also be accomplished. A combination of body maneuvers can add greatly to your combat strategy. For example, let us apply the self-defense technique Dance of Death as we employ a combination of bobbing, weaving, and slipping. As your opponent throws a right punch, commence by bobbing and weaving to your right. As you maneuver under your opponent's right punch, weave and slip to your left, as well as outside of your opponent's right arm, while striking your opponent's groin with a right reverse hand sword. Take note of the left hand and how it is used to check your opponent's retaliatory efforts. Follow up with a takedown and completion of the technique. Falling is an exaggerated method of riding an attack. The major difference between the two is that when riding, you constantly remain on your feet. When falling, you end on either your back or stomach. When on the ground from a fall, turning or rolling can be applied and coordinated with your counters. While it is important that you learn the contents of my tapes, do not neglect studying the very basic material. Each tape is an important building block. They provide you with basic disciplines that add to the total structure of my system of American Kenpo. More importantly, they form the basic foundation of your Kenpo knowledge. Weak basics lead to unsuccessful achievements. Therefore, lengthen your practice sessions and make each workout productive. View basic disciplines in their embryonic state. As you strive for perfection, increase your awareness of existing details. Learn how these details function. Identify them, dissect them, analyze them, and perfect them. Accomplish this, and you will understand what sophisticated basics are all about. As you progress to graduated levels of proficiency, do not discard, but store simple movements that are replaced by those of sophistication. Avoid the temptation to discard your basic knowledge because of newly acquired and improve skills. Stock your storehouse of knowledge, not only for yourself, but for the benefit of those who you do or will teach. An important reminder: the information contained in all of my tapes covers a vast array of experiences. It is for the novice as well as the advanced practitioners. Therefore, you are cautioned to practice only those exercises paralleling your ability and skill.